The restaurant was supposed to be asleep at 3 in the morning. The city outside was quiet, streets washed in amber streetlight and leftover rain. Inside Levante Bistro, everything should have been dark, ovens cooling, counters wiped clean. Chairs flipped upside down like resting birds. But the lights were on, Marcus. Levante slowed his car as he passed the front windows for the second time. The glow spilled onto the sidewalk, warm and unmistakable. He frowned. Marcus owned 5 restaurants across the city. Precision mattered to him. Schedules mattered. Rules mattered. And one rule stood above the rest. No one was allowed in the kitchen. After closing without written approval, he parked, irritation tightening his jaw, and stepped out into the cold night. Someone was in his restaurant, and they were breaking protocol. Marcus unlocked the front door quietly, the bell chiming once before. He silenced it with his hand. He stood still, listening. From the back of the restaurant came soft sounds, metal clinking, a knife tapping rhythmically against a cutting board. The low hum of the industrial hood. Someone was cooking. Marcus moved closer, every step controlled. Rehearsing the speech he'd give. Termination. Immediate. No excuses. He rounded the corner into the kitchen and stopped. At the far stainless steel counter stood Elijah Brown, the night prep chef. A black man in his early 30s, tall, lean, always quiet. The kind of employee who showed up early, stayed late, never complained. He wore his chef's jacket, sleeves rolled up, apron tied tight. But Elijah wasn't cooking for the restaurant. The counters weren't set for service. There were no order tickets, no plating trays. Instead, dozens of takeout containers were lined up, neatly stacked, labeled, still steaming soup, roasted chicken, fresh bread, vegetables sliced with care. Elijah worked with a focus that felt almost sacred, moving with the calm precision of someone doing something deeply important. Marcus said nothing. He watched as Elijah tasted a pot, adjusted the seasoning, nodded to himself. Then he wiped the rim clean, sealed the lid, and set it gently with the others. Marcus cleared his throat. Elijah jumped. He spun around, eyes wide, fear flashing across his face the second he recognized who stood behind him. Mr. Levante, Elijah said quickly, pulling his apron straight. I can explain. Marcus folded his arms. I'm listening. Elijah swallowed. His shoulders squared, like he'd already accepted whatever was coming. I know the rules, he said. I wasn't trying to disrespect you or the restaurant. Then, why are my kitchen lights on at 3 in the morning? Marcus asked. Elijah hesitated, then gestured to the containers. There's a shelter 6 blocks from here, he said quietly. They've been getting more families lately. Kids, seniors, folks who don't always get hot meals. Marcus's irritation flickered, uncertain, and he pressed. And I can't afford to donate money, Elijah continued, but I can cook. So, after my shift, I stay. I use ingredients that would expire anyway. Stuff we'd throw out tomorrow. Marcus's eyes moved back to the containers. How long? He asked. Elijah exhaled. Almost a year. A year? You've been using my kitchen for a year without. Permission, Marcus said evenly. Yes, sir. Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Elijah braced himself. I understand if you have to fire me, he said. I had to do something. My mom used to take me to that shelter when I was a kid. They fed us when nobody else did. His voice cracked, just slightly. They're the reason I survived long enough to become a chef. Marcus felt something shift uncomfortably in his chest. He walked closer, picked up one of the containers. The food was still hot. You cook all of this alone? Marcus asked. Elijah nodded. Every Tuesday and Friday night. After a 10-hour shift? Yes, sir. Marcus set the container down carefully. You know this is a liability, he said. If you got hurt, I know, Elijah interrupted softly. I'm careful. Marcus studied him. The exhaustion in his eyes. The quiet pride. The fear he was trying hard not to show. Why didn't you ask? Marcus asked. Elijah looked down. I didn't think someone like you would say yes. The words landed harder than Elijah. Probably intended someone like you. Marcus felt the sting of truth in them. He'd built his empire from nothing, or so he liked to say. But somewhere along the way, he'd started measuring success in numbers instead of people. He looked around the kitchen. He'd designed to impress critics and influencers, and realized it was doing its best work at 3 in the morning. When do you deliver these? Marcus asked. In about an hour, Elijah said. They open early on Wednesdays. Marcus nodded slowly. I'll help. Elijah blinked. Sir? I said. I'll help, Marcus repeated, already grabbing an apron from the hook. You don't have to, I know, Marcus said. But I want to. They worked in silence for a while. Marcus chopped vegetables, rusty at first, then steadier. Elijah showed him where things were, without a word of judgment. After everything was packed, they loaded the containers into Elijah's old sedan. Marcus followed him to the shelter. Inside, tired faces lit up at the smell of food. A little boy waved when he saw Elijah. You came back? The boy said. Always, Elijah replied, smiling. Marcus stood back, watching people eat like it was the first good thing that had happened to them all day. On the drive back, Marcus stared out the window. I'm sorry, he said suddenly. Elijah glanced at him. For what? For being the kind of person you didn't think would say yes? Elijah didn't respond right away. Most people don't. He said finally. The next week, the staff gathered before service. Marcus stood in front of them, hands clasped. I want to tell you about something that's been happening in this kitchen, he said. He looked at Elijah. And about someone who's been leading without a title. The room went quiet. Marcus announced a new initiative. Official donations. Paid hours for volunteer cooking. A partnership with the shelter. And then he said something no one expected. Elijah Brown is now our head of community outreach. Marcus said ineffective immediately. He's being promoted to sous chef. Gasps rippled through the room. Elijah stood frozen. You didn't just use this kitchen, Marcus said. You reminded me what it's for. That night, the lights stayed on at 3 in the morning. But this time, no one questioned why. Because sometimes the most powerful leadership doesn't wear a suit or sign paychecks. Sometimes it quietly feeds people when no one is watching, and the moral lingered long after the kitchen cooled. True greatness isn't measured by what you own or control, but by what you choose to give when you think no one will ever notice.